Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be doing a video on change in tarot. So I've drawn 3 cards that I think really depict some quite useful advice about how to cope with change and how to approach change in our lives. So I'll crack on with the first card, the Wheel of Fortune. And I really love this card because the wheel depicts the wheel of life. So as you can see, we've got 8 spokes in the middle of the wheel, which I think represent the 8 Sabbaths of life. So within a year our life changes so much. We're entering different segments of our life, and each segment we may change our perspective and perceive things in such a different way than we did only a very short period ago. So much happens to us. So I think I like to take away from this card is that it's okay to reassess what we want out of life and to change our goals as we grow, because often people talk about, I have a lack of motivation, I really can't motivate myself to do this. Is that because you're scared of trying to achieve something so difficult, or is that because your motivations lie elsewhere now? So it's okay to reassess your goals and to change what you want out of your life. What I also like about this is it talks about the ebb and flow of life. So life is an emotional roller coaster. So we have good times and bad times. And it's important not to see these bad times as something that we need to suppress and just pretend they don't happen. Because I think that the bad times give a very good contrast and perspective. As if we just had it really easy and we had lots of good times, we would become unappreciative of the blessings that we have. So the bad times allow us to see the good times for what they really are. So they come hand in hand. So I think that's a really important lesson to learn. And I also like to take away from this card the theme of the dizziness of change. So if we're on the outside of the wheel when it's turning, we're going to feel quite dizzy and quite overwhelmed and kind of fuzzy-headed. But if we're very centred and grounded, like in the middle of the wheel, we won't become dizzy and we'll see things with a clear head. So in terms of change, it's important to be able to not become dizzy and overwhelmed, and to be able to grow and expand, to move in new positive directions. So then the Two of Pentacles I really like. It's kind of a reminder card to talk about the fact that we need to be alert and aware and agile as we juggle all the different aspects in our life, to be able to find a balance, because life is a balancing act. And once we find that balance, we can find some harmony and some peace. And as you can see, you've got the ships in the background that are just cruising through the ups and downs of life. So it's all just about kind of going with the flow and finding your balance. And in terms of change, it talks about how an important way to deal with change is to be flexible and adaptable. So not to resist that change, because change is inevitable. As I talk about the wheel, it's always happening. So it's important to just kind of go with the flow and be flexible and open to change. And also, as you can see in his hands, he has 2 coins. So he's got multiple things going on at once. So it talks about how we need to give ourselves the luxury of choice by having a couple of things going on at once, so not putting our eggs in one basket. Because often when we are going through change, because we really don't like change, we try and look for a clear direction, a clear way out, because then we're moving out of that change. But then we're narrowing our perspective, we're not giving ourselves the opportunities. Because often when change happens, many different opportunities arise, and we need to keep ourselves open to try those different opportunities and not just narrow ourselves into one thing to get out of that change, because that's resistance. And as you can see, he has 1 foot on the ground and 1 foot off the ground. So this card also talks about, in terms of change, looking at change not only in our day-to-day affairs, but the bigger impact, so how it affects our life goals, and thinking about what we want, what we really want in our lives, and what we want to achieve long term. And then the last card that I pulled, the Fool, and I kind of drew this as the last card because it kind of talks about the positive end of change, so finding the opportunity in the difficulty, in the change, in the challenge. So this card is all about the endless possibility and taking the first step in a new journey and taking a leap of faith, because often in life that's what we have to do. We have to be able to surrender control and just live in the moment and be able to have faith and trust that the universe is taking us where we need to go. So I think these cards provide some really wonderful words of insight in terms of how to approach and deal with change in our lives. And the overall message I really like is you kind of just have to go with the flow. There is no way you can control every aspect of your life, and you can control the change. No matter how much you plan life and how much you achieve and how brilliant you are, change is going to happen. And change is so difficult because it requires two things: letting go of the old and embracing the new. And there's no set advice for how to do those two things for everyone. We just have to find our own way to deal with this. But the worst thing we can do when we come up against a period of change is to resist it and stick ourselves in one spot, because that doesn't allow us to move forward and find the opportunity that's lying in the change. So yep, that's Change in Tarot. I hope that was helpful. Have a good week. Bye.